everyone, I'm Eugene Choi, and today we'll take a look at the second ballad from Frédéric Chopin, Opus 38. And let's start with a little bit of background information about this piece. This ballad has been dedicated to Robert Schumann, who famously said to Chopin, "Hats off, gentlemen, here is the genius," when he first met him. Schumann declared this to the young Chopin and those who are around him, recognizing Chopin's extraordinary talent. What is the main character of this piece? There are various opinions, but of course, in my opinion, it is the contrast. In terms of visual imagination, I think of the sea when I think of this piece, whether it's the calm and serene sea or it's the turbulent and stormy sea. These sections, the calm and serene sea and the turbulent, stormy sea, these two sections intersect and develop toward each other until it goes to the climax and is ultimately concluding to tranquility. So this polarization of opposing character may express Chopin's respect and admiration to Schumann's two literary characters, or literary representative characters, which are Eusebius, which is an introverted and very humble. And the other one was, of course, as you know, Florestan, which is very extroverted and full of life, and sometimes even full of rebellion. As for the compositional characters, the similarities between other ballades are eminent in this ballad as well. It starts with a long introduction. The beautiful barcarolle starts from the beginning and it goes until measure 45. And then the piece starts to evolve toward the climax, almost at the end. And then in the last part, from the climactic moment, it suddenly drops down to a sudden emptiness, tranquility. So it has the exact same structural similarities like the first ballad, and although we haven't studied it yet, the third ballad and the last ballad. So that's the structural overview of this second ballad. So now let's take a look at the andantino, which is the introduction. This is a sottovoce, and obviously it's a very beautiful barcarolle. It's simple melody F major, and it flows continuously for a full 46 measures, almost as if it might break. And there are legato phrases, as you see, sometimes marked for 6 measures, as long as 10 measures in legato. And it should flow like water, flawlessly and very naturally, of course. This natural melody flows without an artificial rubato, because the simplicity is the key in this part. Because the opposing character, right after this simple introduction, there comes this stormy part, this presto con fuoco at measure 46. This opposing character has a completely different character. So if you want to make more contrast, of course you have to make this barcarolle even more simpler and very steady pulse. Let's see how we can start this beautiful barcarolle. Okay, let's get to the first phrase. Starts with sottovoce from measure 1 to measure 9. Before starting, take sufficient time to imagine to the sound and tempo that the wave is as if rolling in from afar, so that the wave is coming closer and closer from afar. So you have to begin very introspectively, starting in unison, as if the distant waves are slowly rolling in. And as you see, the first starting note, the repeated notes of C, this C is marked with a single pedal. his C's is essential to express with this single C a very calm and nearly waveless sound. And to create that waveless sound, you might want to try making your touch going only to the middle of the key, not fully just to the middle of the key. You see, on a grand instrument, grand piano, there is a middle point. You go to the middle and there is a point which doesn't sound, and then you push that, then it sounds. This is the midpoint. Try to push the key only until this point. Yes, it would create much softer and like from far away sound than full sound. Also, be very cautious with your wrist usage because we pianists breathe with our wrist movement. So when we move wrist, that means we cannot make phrase. When our wrist moves, then the legato breaks. So the wrist movement should be made only when we want to breathe and make the legato end. Refrain from bending wrist too much. I'll try from the beginning, having all that in mind. Until now was the first statement. And about the pedal, I want to make clear how to make and use the pedal. In piano playing in general, pedal usage is very important, especially in this introduction, this sotto voce, Baccaro. The pedal is utmost important. In a general rule, the pedal should be put down after the chord is already pushed. First, press the chord, for example. Press the chord, then press the pedal afterwards, so that the resonance of the previous harmony does not interfere. Did you see how I pedaled? I just played until A part, so the first statement and the second statement. Until then, I played. So the beginning was starting from a single C, and when it came the second time, then it added some confidence, so it had more of an importance. But then it had the same statement. So we finished 2 statements. And now from measure 18, 4 measures of hairpin, little hairpins twice. This is a big change because we haven't seen these hairpins so far. This is the first time. And please do not mistake these hairpins as a volume change. It's rather change of direction and character. Let me try this. So while the water was until very still and no wave, now the water was moving. And then right away it goes like an echo of the first theme, pianissimo. Now going back to the first theme, what is this? This is a surprise. This is where the coda starts with another hairpin. This is something we did not expect. So the coda starts here. This is what we expected, but it goes to the other direction suddenly. Here you are hearing a note you didn't hear before. Can you guess what it is? Instead of F natural, we are using now and instead of E natural, we use. So because of this chord, after this chord, it becomes very much polyphonic. It becomes a chromatic harmony changes. Chromatic scale down sequence happens 3 times, and every time it makes a diminuendo, and at the end, smorzando, and it disappears. Let's think about what this means musically using our imagination. Smorzando So what is your thought? What do you think is happening here? As we all know, playing just a note is nothing. We have to find what it means by playing all these notes. We have to find what the composer wants us to create and find out what is the meaning of all these notes and what is behind all these written notes. Just in my opinion, I see it this way. The coda starts, the barcarolle is obviously going to the end. So this is finishing part. Simply is with smorzando, is going slower, 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 is disappearing. When it disappears, the last phrase this specific last bar sounds to me like it's drops of sea breeze evaporating into the thin air. Because there's the calm sailboat fades into the sunset. And then also, if you look at what is coming after that, it is a presto con fuoco. From that, I think backward, when the storm is coming, then of course storm is very turbulent and very strong and very violent. But in the center of this storm, there is always eye of the storm, which is very silent and which is just the absolute silent. So this is what I think. The last bar from the barcarolle, it means that kind of an emptiness. So it's an emptiness, but it's not very relaxed emptiness, but it's a very intense moment of silence. That's what I think. And to practice these measures from 33 to 44, these 4 voices counterpoint, you should be able to practice it as you practice Bach. 4 voices harmony practice without pedal and memorize each voice separately, like memorize each voice and make combinations. So each voice in every bar should be memorized. Exactly like when you memorize Bach. Because maybe you didn't think of it in the beginning, but this piece is very harmonically polyphonic. Let's take a look at the presto con fuoco section. Although it's marked in fortissimo, rather than harsh fortissimo in volume, and very fast metallic sound, think of a huge tsunami with a tremendous scale and power. But power coming in from the high waves, so huge space and huge scale, but not from the ugly volume. And the right hand and the left hand, they move in opposite direction, so it's a kind of struggle in a way. And the speed of striking the keys should not be too fast. It should be very broader and not pricey, but expansive, like the space is very big. That kind of a wide sound. That is what is necessary in this presto con fuoco. Of course, con fuoco means with fire. That element is here, but not excessively. And to achieve that, one might think that this is a place for just right-hand technique to show off. But more important than that is the left hand's ability to make music and to lead the music. For example, I'm not using any pedal here. all these left-hand octave passages, these should be absolutely in legato. Of course, when you practice, please start like what I did. I didn't use any pedal. I tried to make legato by finger legato, not using any pedal. But when you're doing all your best with your finger legato, then of course you need pedal to use those places where your fingers cannot do. So for example, let's take a look at measure 46, 4-octave passage. Simple. Has to be separate, then these 3-octave passages can be legato with only fingers. Look. Once you find just a suitable fingering, then many things can be solved right away. And then another tip, when you have a longer phrase line, one can rely on the fifth or one can rely on the thumb. But I suggest in this case, we should rely on the fifth because the register is different. Here, the contrast between the right hand and left hand is mainly the register. The right hand comes from here. This high register and the left hand is but in this low register, it can also sound differently. If I focus on the thumb, it sounds like this. But if I focus on the fifth, so totally different two phrases. If I put them with the right hand together, that was number 1, and now number 2. Which version do you think it makes more contrast and more power in together? Of course, I think number 1, when I focused on the lower register with the pinky. So I suggest use more pinky. When you try to make the fifth with legato, then you experiment with pedal. So try to make phrase legato with your pinky, and when you cannot, then use those spots with a little pedal in between. I think this practice should be first done before the technique part, more technical part on the right hand, the descending part, and the left hand ascending part. Now let's tackle 16th passage part. Right hand first. So here we have 16th passage. If I play them together, it goes in a pair of two, but if I don't connect it with the left hand, if I think separately only on the right hand, it's simple. Triple times. A few practice methods. All practice methods should involve non-legato, please. So basically non-legato touch and also what I call plucking. Not just very loose fingertip, but very much intense fingertip. Basically, twice, 3 times. So, within this once, we can make some variations. First, we can do, instead of these 2 notes, we can do only the 5th or with the 4th. Then we can do as harmony. Then we can also do as you see, I'm just improvising. There is no fixed method here. I'm just improvising and I'm just thinking right at this moment what I can do next. Because it's all up to you. You can make any combination or any type of figure that you would like. And the key is, whichever type of combination you make, you have to feel very comfortable. Let's say you make 50 different types of combination. Then the goal is that you have to feel comfortable with all the 50 combinations. That's the kick.